sent a cheque to the Mayor for $75 million. Fortunately, he didn't accept it because others in the marketplace were saying that that piece of dirt, that building, that amenity could command a much higher price. And so when you look at our 3 car parks alone, ballpark, that would have been one great way to fund the transport targeted rate, potentially, a sell down of those car parks, particularly when they've lost their strategic leverage that was promised to us of keeping the car parking prices down in the private sector, because we would keep our prices down and drive down Wilsons and tournaments. Well, they have been turned into cash cows at the worst possible way, and so now that they've got no strategic value as far as keeping inner city car parking prices down, let's have a look at the car parking buildings. Let's also have a look at what I've described in the past, Madam Chair, as the Roman relics. I wasn't part of the Roman Empire, but the Roman relics that still lie around our region. Some of them utilised and some of them aren't. And I'm talking about our 8 council chambers. Some we own, some we don't, I accept that. And those municipal buildings that, rightly or wrongly, need to be really assessed as to whether they're in the best place for the CCOs that may be using them. I don't think Auckland Transport would argue, as they progressively move into the city, that Henderson serves them best. That location. And the south and the north, let's have a look at those council buildings and facilities, because I'm sure that they could be potentially put to better use. And I'm pleased that when, Madam Chair, the Budget Committee minute that we passed and the minute here talks about the executive summary, leasing arrangements, renegotiating commercial leases to improve returns. And I really hope we have a good look at some of our underutilised community facilities, as much as that may be hard and as much as local boards, but really have a look. As much as local boards will pick up a stink, I have to say, I drove past it today and I've been driving past it for 12 years. And it's called and without anyone getting upset, it's called the Western Springs Community Hall.
Oh, come on.
And it's, I've never seen, as a long-time Point Chevalier resident.
Chair.
Can I speak?
Point of order.
Can I speak to the debate?
Councillor Case.
Point of order, I don't like what I'm hearing. Point of order.
Oh, so am I allowed to talk about a community asset?
Relevance to the report we're discussing.
Come on, it's a community asset.
Whatsoever.
Could I just remind councillors?
Am I allowed to talk to debate about community assets? I thought we were talking assets.
I thought, I mean,
are we on the wrong?
Several of the comments that you've made, Councillor Brewer, are very valid and actually will be
covered off
in the review.
Thank you.
As well. And
well, I use that example.
Yes, I know.
As an amenity that has been a Valentine's restaurant, that has been all sorts of things, that lies empty most 99.9% of the time, and perhaps a church group or something could lease that building. Perhaps that building, that amenity could be used better. It would get a huge resistance politically, as we're already seeing.
Whatsoever to the report we're discussing. It's just going on again.
But I'm pleased, as I refer to the order, point 4, that our leasing arrangements and our renegotiating commercial leases to improve returns, as I point to the recommendation here, is on the table. And that is just one mini example of a community asset where the local political representation will get very, very fired up. But our advisors, the 2 companies that are tasked and the management that are reviewing this, need not to quiver. They should look at this fully and frankly without, yes, but I can imagine that there will be screams, howls, and that we need to rise over that, as we might have seen this morning.
We may have.
Even at the mention of it. So we shouldn't be afraid of that. And Madam Chair, I want to finish up by saying we should not also be afraid, and I don't know if this is part of your scope, but the biggest asset that Auckland has, and the people of Auckland has, is a $2.1 billion asset held in trust for Auckland by the AECT. Now, that is not going to be realised to the Auckland Council or whatever authority replaces us until the 27th of August 2,073, a few months after I've had my 100th birthday. And I'll be sitting at Grace Joel Retirement Home writing letters about the council, I imagine, Madam Chair. But I would like to think, and I ask the officers here, that issue that continually gets raised by the likes of the EMA and the Chamber of Commerce and other advocates, rightly or wrongly, at least gets looked at as to what statutorily availability we have as far as winding up that to having the option of the possibility of having access, Councillor Casey, to that 2.1 billion held in trust, rather than giving everyone a $300 cheque, every household a $300 cheque. Some Aucklanders, I suspect, would say, hey, we would rather that 2.1 billion gets realised in infrastructure assets sooner rather than later, and we'd rather trade our $300 household cheque per annum and offset that with slightly lower rates requirements going forward than wait until the 27th of August 2073. So I would hope that this review, Madam Chair, looks at their AECT shareholding, because that will be a debate that will be getting stronger over the next 15 months, and it needs to be addressed. I also want to raise concern that the issue of the Auckland Film Studios, which we, as we all know, we own 100% of, seems to be all around the wrong way. That at the moment we're waiting. This report comes in November, but when ACIL and ATEED are now racing off and doing their business cases, Madam Chair, on whether to sell the Henderson site and move into Hobsonville and vice versa, or whatever, before we've actually decided whether we even want to be to own shares, the 100% shareholding in the film studio. So I think that's disappointing that that work's being done to be presented in September when we haven't even made a political decision as to whether we even want film studios, which will be looked at in November. I see that as around the wrong way. So the AECT issue I've put to the staff as to whether that will be part of this review.
You've already been told that, and I don't know how many times I have to say, and Sue has to say, everything is on the table. Sounds really great. In fact, I go to Councillor Penny Holz's idea about our car parks, and I would suggest that any of us who have got cars who can actually use public transport and who live in Metro Auckland should give their car parks up to those of those councillors who live miles away. So that would be a good one, and we can sell my car.
Can we draw a line at selling the members' own mothers, please?
Well, yes, no, mine's not around anymore, so can we move on, please?
So, Madam Chair, with the AECT shareholding, are we able to get some advice as to what level of assessment these independent advisory firms will be looking at that issue? Is it just going to be once over lightly, or are we actually going to...
Councillor Brewer, you've been told...
What can I be told again?
Well, I know... I
must have been told when I was speaking, because I've...
This is the problem with live streaming, you see, because everybody likes to do their speeches.
No, well, I haven't been told. You had a monologue for 10 minutes, and so I haven't been told.
Through Madam Chair, Councillor Brewer, the AECT will be included in the review. It will not be a once over lightly. There will be no once over lightly of anything. That is why everything is on the table.
Okay.
And the report will come back to you with giving you the informed position of what the options are that you can consider. And
then we consider and we make the decision. Oh, Councillor Watson.
Minus our mothers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I could just start maybe by pointing out for what me is the irony when people are talking about scoping and people dusting off no asset sales banners and whatnot. We're already off to a flying start on this one. We've already got 650 million of asset sales in our long-term plan. This committee a few months back, we went further with service property optimisation. So we're already doing it. Okay, so that the direction's been well and truly signalled, and I suppose to the more cynical on the sideline, they'll be saying, well, this is a logical extension of what's already been begun. And I think for a lot of people that would raise concerns, because in all my dealings with members of the public, I have yet to come across anyone coming up to me saying, well, you should be selling this off or you should be selling that off. The thing they do come up to me and say is you should be looking at your first priority, and that is your existing costs. And I think Councillor Lee alluded to that. Certainly in previous meetings, some of the other councillors have attempted to get some scrutiny over existing costs. It's great here to see 2 independent advisory firms getting the contract for this, whatever that might cost. Wouldn't it be great if those 2 independent advisory firms started off with the existing cost structure in the Auckland Council? If they ran the comb over the costings of Auckland Transport or their projects or possibly the City Rail Link, how that stands up to scrutiny. Perhaps RFA stadium strategy, how much could be saved from that? So like a lot of decision making around this table, there's a great rush to get to step 4 before you've even looked at step 1. And for me, and I'm not a business person, but in terms of household budgets, most people start off by looking at their own costs, don't they, before they start hocking things off? So for me, this is the wrong way round. We should be looking at our own internal costs. Unless, of course, I mean, I might be mistaken, I might be the only one here who thinks that we've got a real tight watch over every penny in this organisation. And I welcome Councillor Hulse's view that we should start looking at those smaller things. But it's funny, when the smaller things come up, like business class travel, what comes of them? They stay. They stay. So, yeah, have a look at our costs first, because I think there could be some big savings there.
I think that's the next meeting that this council is having, that's what's coming.
Yeah, well, I say it should be the first meeting we're having. And the other thing that concerns me about this is all to do with revenue raising opportunities. And really, what do these revenue raising opportunities signal to perhaps our biggest potential source of revenue, and that's the government? What have we signalled to the government over the last couple of months? Well, during the budget debates, we've signalled to them that we're more than willing to hit up our ratepayers. We've signalled that, haven't we? 10% average increase, near enough, damn it. We've signalled that to them. We have signalled that we're willing to institute additional rates, targeted rate, transport targeted rate. We've signalled that. We're willing to impose that upon them. We're now signalling to them very clearly that even with those things, we're also willing to consider selling off our assets. And everyone knows around here we'll be looking at the prime assets. I mean, that they're going to come up for grabs. The ones that actually give us a dividend, they're the valuable ones. They're the ones that big business would be interested in. So what are we signalling to them all along? Well, we're signalling, hey guys, our ratepayers, either by virtue of hitting them in their pocket or by hocking off their assets, they'll cover the bill. Yep. They'll cover the bill. That's what we're signalling to them. And what really annoys me about this whole process, including this, is how the government gets off largely scot-free in this whole revenue examination. We've been AWOL as far as real determined lobbying goes. Auckland's in a unique situation. They set it up. I mean, 5 years ago, they set it up. They gave us a $200 million bill to start off with for setting it up. We go on, we chuck in things like $500 million for putting up new computer systems that we, hopefully will work, we don't know. And we're the ones that are copying, not us personally, but our ratepayers are the ones who are copying the financial consequences. And what is our response? Our response is to put up their rates and to sell off their assets that have been built up over many generations over all parts of Auckland. So, Madam Chair, the only 2 independent advisory firms that I'll be supporting are the 2 independent advisory firms that are going to start off with the existing cost structure of this council and its CCOs.
Thank you, Councillor Watson. And as I said, there will be a